Hey, everybody. Come on in and get comfortable. Grab your favorite snack, your favorite beverage. It's time to grandstand. Hey, everybody. It's Mother Theresa here on a Tuesday evening with grandstanding. And I just want another week of grandstanding. And I just want to welcome everybody. I've already asked you to get your favorite beverage, get your favorite snack. I also need you to send out or share the live with someone else, someone who you know that has never been on grandstanding. You've never seen them log in. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's friends, maybe it's co-workers, maybe it's just some people in the neighborhood. Whoever they may be, I just need you to share the live with someone, especially with the topic that we're going to be talking about on tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about boundaries are a blessing. And if you've ever been with us, or if you've been with us for any length of time, you will know that I often talk about boundaries and how we have to set boundaries, not only in our personal life, but also in our professional life, in our life outside of our home, life inside of our home. We have to set boundaries. And when you think about boundaries, a lot of times I think about boundaries like a fence. You know, a fence with a gate on it. A gate that you control the access in and you can control the access out. But most importantly, you share the access in. That means you are responsible for allowing who you want to come in at any given point. And just the way that that door swings both ways, sometimes you have to ask them to exit. All right. So on tonight, we're going to talk about boundaries being a blessing. And I just want to tell you that when you set boundaries, it doesn't make you a hard-nosed person, but it does make you a whole person. And I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what that actually means. Again, I just want to welcome everybody to Grandstanding with Mother Theresa. If you've not been here before, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a returning guest, whether you're watching it live or on the replay, I appreciate you coming back and listening again. I try to make sure that I am sharing information that is relevant for life application, let's just put it like that, for anyone who wants to listen and learn a little bit more about some of the spiritual nuggets or just the pearls of wisdom that I like to call the grandstanding, the messages. But welcome. I'm glad that you're here on tonight. And if you like the music, my intro music, that is In the Meantime by TJ Culpepper. And he is my grandson, and he is a master at creating jingles, any type of music that you would like. But if you need a jingle, get in contact with TJ Culpepper. Somebody put in the chat, Nick, if you're listening, Candace, if you're listening, honey, if you're listening, and I know that most of you all are or will be, put in TJ's information, okay? All right, so let's get started. one of the things when I talk about boundaries, I'm going to share that a lot of times this is not necessarily a topic that most of us was taught, but we desperately needed to have been taught. And that is boundaries. Not the kind that keep you bitter. Honey, my light just went out. Not the kind that keep you bitter, but it's the kind that keeps you balanced. And when I'm talking about boundaries, remember I'm talking the reference that I gave about a fence. Yes. So I want you to keep that in mind as I'm talking on tonight. And as you all know that sometimes mechanics and stuff like that temporarily will shut off. But guess what? I have another little ring light and we're going to make it work. Okay. I can think about just so many times that I have said yes and I should have said no. And when I said yes, a lot of times, I wish y'all could see my honey. He is in here fixing lights. Both of my lights actually went out. But guess what? One is back on and he's running to go get another one. But I remember so many times that I have said yes to certain situations that I absolutely know that I should have said, I said yes. And I know that I should have said no. Y'all, this is live. So you can expect just about, there you go. My husband has given me life. And so I fixed that, honey. So anything can happen. But guess what? We continue to go on. That's just like life, you know. Things happen in life, but guess what? We don't just throw in the towel. We don't just shut down. We don't just quit. We keep going. We try to fix it if we can, and we keep going. And those things that we can't fix right then, guess what? If God gives you another day, get up and start all over again, okay? So don't let the little things in life get you down. Don't let the little things that come as a distraction and throw you off and get you all discombobulated. All right, so when I talk about being, using boundaries, I've got some water right here. Thank you, honey. Honey done worked up a sweat. My honey has worked up a sweat. He's trying to take care of his honey. Yes, he does. But again, and I'm going to try to get back to what I was saying. Sometimes you just have to laugh when things just kind of start going haywire. Again, I just want to just share that when you are not creating and setting boundaries, a lot of times what has happened to me is that I've overcommitted myself. And that's typically what has happened in the past when I'm talking about boundaries, is because I want to be a part of, or I wanted to be a part of so many different things, great things, that I felt like in my younger years that I needed to be a part of this committee. I needed to be a part of this club, or I needed to be on this board of directors, or I needed to be included in this. Because my interests, I have so many different interests about so many different things. And what happens is when you find yourself having a lot of different interests and a lot of different things, you want to be a part of so much and so many things. So you volunteer to be on this committee. You volunteer to chair this committee. You volunteer to be a member on a committee or on a board of directors for 25 or 30 years because you believe in the work that they're doing. And but sometimes what happens is that you begin to get overwhelmed. You've committed yourself to so many things, and what happens is you can't be really good at anything because you've overcommitted yourself. And not just that, but it begins to work on your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and you're no good to anybody. You can't give a 100% to the organizations that you are a part of because you're spread so thin. And a lot of times what we have been conditioned to do is we've been conditioned to say yes. We've been conditioned because a lot of us are people pleasers. We think that if we say no, that maybe people are not going to like us, that people are not going to think that we are a team player. They're going to think that we don't think that what they're doing has any value because we don't want to be a part of it. But that's usually not the case, you all. It's usually when that happens is that we have overextended ourselves and we're beginning to back up and we're beginning to reclaim our time. Not only reclaim our time, but we're reclaiming our energy. And all of that comes with setting boundaries. And when you start setting those boundaries, sometimes people will begin to, question you about, hey, why are you no longer doing this? Or why are you no longer doing that? And it has nothing to do with them as an individual. It's just that you know that you have overextended yourself. And I can remember not only me, but my husband as well. When we lived in Nacogdoches, y'all, we were a part of a lot of different things that was happening in the city, okay? Especially at one point, my husband was on so many different committees. It was just like, oh my goodness, I don't know how, but we were much younger. I don't know how he was able to do it. And not only just being a part of those committees, but sometimes often chairing those committees. And you know what happens when you chair committees. That means you got to be there. If nobody else shows up, you all have to be there. And because you are chairing those committees, you are responsible and you want to make sure that everything goes without a hitch. So guess what? You give it your all. And when I say you give it your all, you give it your all and then some. And so what began to happen, I began to do the same thing. And especially as it was related to church. I have said that I've been the president of this, the president of that, the president of this, the president of that. Down through the years, I started at my home church at the age of 18 years old. And at the age of 18 years old, I mean, being young and also just wanting to be a part of and just being excited about being a new convert, being a new, believer and just wanting to be a part of. And then I had my daughter. So whatever she was involved in, I wanted to be involved with that with Net. And then, of course, came along Candace. And so it was just for me, it was natural for me to want to be a part of the Sunshine Band, the Purity Band. Well, then you become the president of that. And then you become the president of the whole youth department. And then I'm the church secretary and this and doing all of the correspondence that's going into the newspaper and then serving on all of those different committees. And again, and a lot of that time, I was in school as well. So, and working full time. And my husband was doing some of the same things that I'm saying that I was doing. He was on this committee, the Nacogdoches Convention and Visitors Bureau, Habitat for Humanity, this, that, and everything, the Voters League, just so many different things. And I say all of this because I'm talking to somebody who is feeling overwhelmed right now. I'm talking to someone who has overextended themselves. And because you have overextended yourself, you're tired. And what happens when we get tired, sometimes we get resentful. Whenever it's time to go to the meeting, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this anymore. But we don't tell anybody about what's going on with us. We just continue to serve. Now, am I saying that anything is wrong with that? No, I'm not. But I'm saying to you that if you're beginning to feel overwhelmed and feeling like, okay, I've done this long enough, then I think you need to set some boundaries. But let's just kind of go back about the boundaries. Many of us grew up in environments where being good meant being silent, being obedient, being self-sacrificing. In some homes, saying no was seen as a sign of rebellion, not responsibility. It was like if you said no, which is a very powerful word, it was not seen as responsibility and trying to take care of yourself. It was seen as an act of rebellion. You know, you're being rebellious, okay? And sometimes our faith communities, our spiritual places of worship, they sometimes confuse our meekness with weakness, leading people to confuse their boundaries with disobedience or not being sometimes and I hate to say cliques in the church, but and I'm not even going to go there. Just forget I said that. Okay. Sometimes when in our our households of faith, sometimes it's the same people that's doing the same work over and over and over and over and over. Sometimes that's because certain people have proven themselves that they can do it. And then sometimes it's because other people in the church don't want anybody else to be a part of that particular group that's doing certain things. Because I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I've been in the church since I was 18 years old, seriously in the church, you know. And I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a whole lot of things. And that's going to be a topic for another time. But you have to start in the household of faith of being able to set some boundaries, okay? Because again, sometimes our meekness can be confused as weakness. Now, preachers, missionaries, apostles, superintendents, please don't send anything to me saying Mother Theresa is teaching something contrary to our beliefs or whatever. I'm not teaching about beliefs right now, people of God. I'm teaching about boundaries. And just like some of you need to start setting some boundaries, so does the people in your congregation. And sometimes they can't be there every time that the doors open. And when I'm talking you all, I am talking to myself first, because I can remember a time when I was raising my children. And I remember it so well, you all. My mom would ask me, remember I said most of my life, my earlier life, I was in school, but also we were very committed to our church, very committed. Um, and my mom would ask me, she said, Theresa, when do you have time just for your family? When is your family time? You know, when do you have time for just your family? And I said, oh, Mom, I have lots of time with my family. You know, we make time for our family. And she was just questioning what type of, because we were so busy, because we were so involved, heavily involved in the church. That's what she asked me. And let me tell you all, at that time, I really did not understand what my mom was saying or what she was trying to teach me. What she was really trying to teach me was about boundaries. But it went right over my head because I was so committed and I was so involved with what I was doing at the time that I didn't realize what my mom was really trying to teach me is that I needed to start setting some boundaries so I can spend more quality time with my family. And even though I was in church with my family, most of the time, if we were in church, we was in church together as a family. So if I went, pretty much they went, okay? Any other stuff that we did, pretty much if I was involved, my kids were involved. But I get where my mom was where she was trying to take me. At the time, I did not, but I get it now. Let me just tell you, there is a cost of not having boundaries, and I am learning that at 61 years old, that sometimes when we do not set boundaries in our lives, we can start having chronic fatigue, We can become stressed. And I've already talked about emotional burnout. Okay. Sometimes we begin to feel invisible, undervalued, taken advantage of because we haven't set boundaries. And sometimes what happens when I talk about being taken advantage of and also feeling like, people are misusing your willingness to work for a person that you can just be walked on, okay? But taken advantage of, undervalued, feeling invisible. That's because you haven't set boundaries. Also, when you have not set boundaries, one of the other things is sometimes you begin to feel resentful. Yes, you can start feeling resentful because guess what? You're always being called upon to do things, but guess what? I don't want to do it anymore. And because I don't want to do it anymore, I'm now feeling resentful. Okay. Uh, Even in the Bible, you all, I've been talking about church. And again, I'm not church bashing. Of course, I would never do that. But even in the garden, there was one boundary. It was something that was holy. They was told not to touch it. Okay. So when I'm talking about boundaries, it's a biblical thing. In Matthew, it talks about let your yes be yes and your no, no. Um, Also, when there were times in the Bible where Jesus got away from the crowds, he went away to rest. He said no. Even when the people wanted more from him, he had to say no and he had to steal away. He had to set some boundaries. And let me just tell you, God is a God of order, and boundaries create order and safety. All right. We are not responsible for everybody else's emotions. We're only responsible for our own. And it's okay to say, I don't have the ability nor the capacity to do what you're asking me to do today. I just cannot do it. I don't have the energy. I don't have it to give. And we've talked about having a full cup, being able to pour from a full cup versus an empty cup. When your cup is empty, you all, that means that you haven't set any boundaries. If your cup is empty, that means that you haven't set boundaries, and you need to do that. We cannot pour from an empty cup. And so many times, because of all the different things that we're involved in, you all, we are trying to pour from an empty cup and there's nothing there. Another thing, when the phone rings, you don't have to answer it. Okay. If you're in the middle of doing something, all right, honey. If you're in the middle of doing something, guess what? That's what voicemail is for. Okay. Let the service pick it up. And then when you're available, then you call them back. And sometimes, let me just tell you, my phone, oh, I'm on it. I was getting ready to look for it. I was like, oh, where's my phone? It's right there. I'm talking into it. When I come home from work, a lot of times, you all, I put my phone, my phone is always on silent. It's always on silent because I take my phone to work with me and I don't want my phone ringing while I'm in work. So it's always on silent unless I purposely take it off because I'm expecting a phone call or whatever. But for the majority of the time, probably 98.99% of the time, my phone is on silent. So, and if I'm not looking at it or if I'm charging it, I'm going to miss your phone call. Okay. So please don't take it that I'm just looking at the phone and ignoring it. However, sometimes that is the case. But for the most part, you all, I miss the phone calls because I don't know that you're calling me. Okay. So, but let me just tell you all, you don't have mamas, especially mamas of young children. You don't have to answer that phone call every time it rings. Allow allow it to go to voicemail. And then at your leisure, then give them a phone call back. And when you don't answer the phone, you don't have to make an apology or make excuses for why you didn't. You know, if you're busy, you're busy. And let me just tell you, if your life is like mine, and you may say, why are you so busy? Well, I'm just busy. I have a business that I am trying to pull together. I write books, I write journals, I do this, I do that. You all, I'm busy, okay? And when I'm not busy, a lot of times that time is spent relaxing, either with my husband or just like on yesterday, I took me a good long nap sitting outside by the pool. It was so cool and refreshing out there. This was before the rain came. I just took me a nap outside and it was wonderful. Okay. So when you start setting your boundaries, you can take a nap outside on your back patio. Okay. You can do those things. But this is what I want you to understand about when you start setting boundaries is don't allow other people to make you feel guilty. And that's what happens sometimes is that when we start setting boundaries, hey, mama, I hope your packages came in today. They should have been there today. If they didn't come today, they should be there tomorrow. When you are setting boundaries, don't allow other people to make you feel guilty because you've set a boundary. But let me just tell you, they will, especially if you have been that person who've always said yes, 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 and you never said no to them. They're going to wonder what's wrong with you. They're going to wonder if you've lost your mind because you told them no. Really, you haven't lost your mind. What you've actually done is found it. You've actually found it, okay? And so when you start finding yourself and you start setting some boundaries in your life, not everybody's going to be pleased. Not everybody is going to be excited about the fact that you are getting your life together, so to speak. Because they enjoyed using your services. And what am I talking about when you say, okay, Mother Theresa, where are you really going with this? Where I'm going is that I want you all to be whole, okay? I want you all to not be so tired that you don't have time and space or the capacity to enjoy your life. And I'm speaking for an example from experiences of when I was much younger about being overwhelmed with so many of the things so many of the causes that I was involved in. And now that I look back and say, you know what? Yes, I was involved with this. Now, one of the things that I was involved in that I absolutely love because I love Head Start. I served on the Community Action Board of Directors for years, years, years. I was appointed to serve and I absolutely loved it. I learned so much about Head Start, but not only did I learn so much about Head Start, but I am a product of Head Start. I went to Head Start as a young girl. And so when I believe in Head Start, I believe that Head Start actually does what it says, is that it gives those children who are enrolled a head start in life. And so serving on that board was something that meant a lot to me. And not only did it mean a lot to me, but to be able to be a part of laws that affected young children and create policies that affected the children that are now, they're adults now, probably like me with some of them are definitely parents and maybe even grandparents. But also my mom worked at Head Start. My sister worked at Head Start. And so, that is a program that I absolutely loved. So I'm not saying everything that you're involved in, you have to give it up. I would say is that you need to be more selective in the things that you are saying yes to and be very mindful of the things that you need to say no to. Again, Remember the gate. The boundaries are like the gates. You allow people in and you usher people out, okay? Not only just people, but also commitments. So when you're thinking about boundaries and you're thinking about setting boundaries, and I know my time is it's up. Boundaries are not selfish. That means that you're not being selfish. They're pretty much, I would say, sacred, because you establish those boundaries, and you need to learn how to protect yourself, but also you need to protect what God gave you. You know, so many times we have lots of gifts and talents and different things like that, and we need to be mindful that yes, God gives us our gifts and our talents and all these different things and the abilities to do so many different things. But you got to be wise. You got to be wise with that. And I look at sometimes when people are talking about, you know, your boundaries and your time and the sacrificial time that you give. Sometimes when I talk about, you know, being careful of how you extend yourself, you know, people look at your time and it is in your service. Sometimes you think about as a, and I'm just going to use me as a mental health professional. You know, I can donate my time to any organization. Okay. I can donate it to the church. I can donate it to an organization. But guess what? This is my profession. And so because this is my profession, normally you would have to pay for my time. But I'm going to be gracious and I'm going to donate my time. I will donate the service that normally you would have to pay for. So when I am doing that, I want people to understand and appreciate the fact that I don't necessarily have to do this. I'm doing this because I really want to, okay? But sometimes you may have to say, you know what? I can't do it this time. And I need the people in our lives to be okay with that. Now, we've talked a lot about in work. We've talked about in the spiritual side of it. But guess what, you all? Sometimes we've got to be able to do this even in our homes. Even in our homes with our loved ones, with our families. Sometimes we have to tell our families no. We have to let our families know that, you know what, as much as I want to do this, or as much as I want to go, or as much as I want to whatever that they're asking, I'm going to have to pass, okay? And when you are passing on things, it's not that you don't love your family, is that you know, hey, I just can't do it tonight. And guess what? When you're setting boundaries, you all, one of the things I need you all to understand is that when you're setting boundaries, oh, there's the book up there. There's the book up there. Let's see. Can I get that book? Let me see if I can get this book. No, I can't reach it from here. On next week, I'll try to remember to show you all this book. But anyway, what I was saying is that when you're setting boundaries, just know that it's really about protecting your peace. It's really about protecting your, not only your peace, but your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. And guess what, you all? We need to be comfortable in, it's on that side. It's a book called Boundaries. We've got to be comfortable in the decisions that we make. And again, like I said, I am trying to give you all some information that will actually help you all to be better people, to be a better person, and not be so frustrated and overwhelmed with the things that it's taking up so much of your time. And not only taking up so much of your time, but taking time away from your family, taking time. It's that book that says Boundaries, right there by Dave Ramsey. Okay. Taking away time from your family, taking away time from doing the things that you absolutely want to do. And so, thank you, honey. But this is a great book. You know, I will tell you all, most of the time that I'm on here talking to you all, I'm not just talking random stuff. I'm really talking about things that I know a little bit about. And see, that's what gets me in trouble. I shared with you all earlier that because I have so many different interests and a lot of different things, my hands are always in the middle, in the mix of something. And I was really, really bad about that when I was younger. I am learning how to set boundaries. And so, and one of the things that I have, this is a great book for those of you all that need a little help in, and I think this is the workbook, the participant's guide. It is. The actual book is a much thicker book. This is a participant's guide. And I actually taught this class several years ago at the, here's another thing I was involved in, the Christian Women's Job Corps, another program that I absolutely loved. And I was a teacher with that, and also served served on their board for a while. Christian Women's Job Corps is a great organization, but I was able to teach this class for them. And let me just tell you what I discovered with those group of women is that those group of women, they would tell you that they were people pleasers. And it's the Christian Women's Job Corps is an amazing, amazing group. But what they told me and shared with me is that you know your daddy, Candace. You know your daddy. Yes, he came and took care of it. What the ladies told me is that they never knew that it was okay for them to say no. They never knew that they could tell their family members no. They never knew that if they said no, that they could still maintain relationships, friendships with people. They could say no to people at work and the people still like them. I'm going to tell you that a lot of times when you begin to use the power of no and setting boundaries, people will respect you. They will respect you because they understand that, hey, this person, although, yeah, they may have been a yes person, but this person is evolving. And that demands respect, okay? So that's enough about that on tonight. I hope that this was helpful. And I hope that this was good information for someone. And what I'm going to ask you to do this week is that if you have been struggling with being a people pleaser or not standing up and setting boundaries, hey there, Martha, I want you to take some time this week to practice saying no. I want you to take some time this week to get in the habit of removing yourself from some of the things that you are involved in that you feel like is taking up some precious time that you could be spending with your grandbabies, or you could be spending with your husband, or you could just be spending time with yourself. If you like to journal and you haven't had time to journal, or if you love to read, maybe it's studying the Word of God. Whatever it is, do whatever that you feel like you have slacked up doing because you've put some other things in place of that. I'm going to ask that this week, that you start making some time in your schedule for those things that you enjoy. And what that's going to mean is that you're going to have to set some boundaries with your time. You know, we don't have a whole lot of time. What is it? It talks about, is it time is but a vapor or something? Life is but a vapor. We don't have a whole lot of time. And we may say, oh, people that live 90 years, when you think about it, hey, that's not a whole lot of time. And so we need to be mindful of every single minute that we have. Why not make it worth your time and enjoy those minutes, okay? Because let me just tell you, my daughter asked me the other day, she said, Mom, do you realize that you say, let me just tell you? And so I said, yes, I do realize that. But I'm going to say it again. Let me just tell you that you deserve to be happy. Not only do you deserve to be happy, but you deserve to set some boundaries in your life. And if you haven't set the boundaries in your life, I need you to do that this week. My title tonight was Boundaries Are a Blessing. And it's a blessing if you put them in place. All right. All right, everybody. That's all that I have on tonight. I hope that you all have enjoyed this and was able to actually get something out of it. Again, when I'm talking grandstanding, I'm talking to myself as well. So I know that there are some other things in my life that I need to set some boundaries with. Some things that I know that I've kind of gotten myself into. I'm not going to say a situation, but it somewhat is. I'm extending myself in some areas that I know I need to pull back. Okay. And because I know that I need to do that, again, I talk to myself first and then I share with you all. So I hope that this has been a great for you on tonight. Make sure that you like it. Make sure that you're sharing it. Make sure that you are setting boundaries in your life this week. Take back some of your time, Sister Martha. Hello there, Lavinda. Miss Carter, I'm glad you enjoyed it on tonight. Take back some of your time and do something that you enjoy on this week with your reclaimed time. All right, everybody. As my sister Cynthia often says, good night, grandstanders, and we will see you on next week. All right? Bye-bye, everybody. Yeah, my husband is in here just moving and grooving to this music. I wish y'all could see him. But he would have a fit if I turned this camera around. He would probably run out of the room, Sister Martha. Bye-bye, everybody.